My name is Paul Matthews, and I'm the Executive Director and CEO of the Worcester Regional Research Bureau, which is one of the partners behind tonight's debate. As you might or might not be aware, hopefully you're aware, the Bureau is a 501c3 nonprofit that's been working here in Worcester for 40 years with the mission of informing the public and policymakers of some of the key issues affecting the community by using objective, nonpartisan, apolitical data to guide decision making. So as part of our commitment to informing the public, we have committed for a number of cycles now, well before my tenure at the Bureau, to this series of municipal election debates and forums. You're lucky enough to be here at the first this year, the inaugural forum for at-large school committee candidates. If you're here for a different forum, come back a different week. But as you can see, we have 100% of the 3 candidates running for the 2 seats at large on the Worcester School Committee. I want to thank our partners in these debates. Our partners are the Telegram and Gazette, which is going to be streaming this tomorrow after some basic editing. I want to thank Rick and Mike McDermott from the Telegram for their commitment to making this available to the public regardless of subscriber status. I also want to thank WCCA, which is here recording and will be airing on WCCA. I want to thank Ernie Floyd from Pride Productions. And I also want to thank Mechanics Hall staff, which are doing a great job on sound, light, and so many other features. And I want to ask the Executive Director of Mechanics Hall, Megan Montaner, to come up and say a few words of welcome before we get underway.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. It's my pleasure to welcome the Worcester Regional Research Bureau, the Telegram and Gazette, and tonight's candidates to our space. Mechanics Hall in Worcester isn't just a performance venue. It's a living symbol of civic engagement. Opened in 1857 by the Worcester County Mechanics Association, it was created to empower working-class citizens through education, innovation, and public dialogue. Throughout its history, it's hosted powerful voices like Frederick Douglass and Susan B. Anthony, making it a stage for the abolitionist movement, the suffragist movement, and other key social reforms. Today, it continues that legacy by opening its doors to town halls, nonprofit events, and cultural forums that bring the community together. Mechanics Hall represents how a space can actively support democracy, not just by hosting events, but by elevating voices, encouraging discourse, and connecting citizens to causes greater than themselves. We're grateful for the opportunity to host the debates again this year. Welcome.
Thanks very much, Megan. And just to cover a few ground rules for tonight's debate, both for the audience and the candidates, in terms of, we're going to ask everyone to please be respectful of all viewpoints. Even if you're a committed supporter of one candidate, please allow the other 2 to speak freely. The whole point of this exercise is an open and transparent exchange of ideas. And we need to ensure that people at home viewing this either on WCCA or the Telegram or hearing it via Pride Productions have the opportunity to hear as well. So I appreciate all of you in the room remembering that. Please maintain decorum. You don't look like an unruly crowd, but I feel I should at least mention that sometimes emotions run a little high. So please respect decorum and know that we're here to hear from all the candidates. In terms of the candidates themselves, they know the format. 2 of them have done this before, but I will cover the rules for the benefit of all 3 of you and all of you in the audience. The debate format is there will be a 2-minute opening statement by each candidate. Then there are going to be questions asked by our moderators that I should note those questions were developed by the Research Bureau. So if you're in the audience and wonder why one of the moderators asked a question, please do not question them. Come talk to myself or my colleague Eric Nealand or Josh or Anthony, because we're the ones who wrote the questions. There are going to be 15 questions and answers. Each primary respondent will have 1.5 minutes to respond. The other candidates will each have 1 minute to reply, and the primary respondent will have 30 seconds to wrap things up and respond to the other candidates. Then at the end of the debate, there will be a 1-minute closing statement from each candidate. The timing will be kept on a vigilant basis by myself and my colleague, Josh Boucher, who's gesturing with the 30-second mark to demonstrate. What we traditionally have been doing is when we run out of time, we say stop with black, and then we shift to stop with red, and then I'll stand up. And when I stand up, we're going to ask you to finish, and if needed, the moderators will have to be heavy-handed in asking you to conclude. I don't think it'll come to that, but just so everyone's aware of the time frame. So in terms of our moderators, they're truly phenomenal and represent a wide variety of perspectives and experiences in leadership in the city of Worcester on educational issues, moving from my right to my left, so your left to your right. Joe Corazzini from Clark University, Melanie Bonsu from St. Gobain, and Pam Hadley, who's the senior chair of the CPAC, the Citywide Parent Planning Advisory Council. So on that note, let's have the honest and transparent exchange of viewpoints that we all need in a municipal election. And Joe, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the debate for the next hour and 16 minutes. Along with my co-moderators, Melanie and Pam, we will be trying to engage you in an interesting discussion around public education. And so we're going to first open up with opening statements. I'm going to start with Adjoa. You have 2 minutes to provide an opening statement.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Adjoa Sechi Lamti. I am a former Worcester Public School student, a current parent of Worcester Public School students, a higher education professional, and a deeply engaged community advocate. I currently serve on several local boards, including the Worcester Economic Club, and I was the vice president of the PTO at my children's school, where I worked closely with families, teachers, and administrators to support students and improve school programs. I am running for school committee because every child deserves access to a strong curriculum, meaningful support, and opportunities to thrive regardless of challenges they may face in their day-to-day life. My priorities are clear: strengthen academic programs, ensure students who are struggling, whether in the area of academics, social, or emotional needs, get the support they need, and build strong partnerships with families, educators, and the broader community. I bring experience in leadership, collaboration, and problem solving from my professional and volunteer work. I've seen firsthand how investing in students, listening to families, and leveraging community partnerships can make a real difference. I'm ready to bring that perspective to the school committee so together we can create schools where every student is safe, supported, and prepared for success. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Sue Mailman. Sue, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Sue Mailman, and I've served on the Worcester School Committee for 4 years, and I'm running for another 2-year term. I'm the 4th generation owner of my company, Coughlin Electrical Contractors. Our company values are based on good jobs for local people and integrity in construction. I'm a wife and a mother and a grandmother, and an active member of the community, which probably bugs some of you. I chaired general advisory at Worcester Tech for over 10 years and chaired the board at Quinsig for 7 years. I've been active on local and state workforce boards and apprenticeship initiatives. I've chaired the board of social justice organizations like the YWCA and served many social service boards like United Way. I bring a lot of governance and budget experience. I believe a city our size could achieve great things in the public school system, but we have to be willing to see ourselves honestly. I ran 4 years ago to welcome new leadership and a cultural shift in our district. Dr. Monarez brought the vision and strategy to begin that journey. I believe Brian Allen and the team have the interest in seeing that vision and strategy through to the end of our current strategic plan. I look forward to assisting as a member of the school committee. I've used my voice on the school committee to press for quality vocational educational opportunities across all schools, new admissions standards for Worcester Tech that ensure kids from all over the city have access, quality dual language expansion in elementary schools, and library access in those elementary schools. Members of our school committee must inform themselves of local, state, and federal laws that impact us here in Worcester. I do that, and I will continue to pay close attention to all levels of government and bring that to my role on the school committee, especially during this time in our nation.
Thank you very much. Up next, we have Maureen Benenda providing her opening statement. Maureen, you have 2 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Maureen Benenda. Leadership is about results, integrity, and community. And that's exactly what I bring to the discussion tonight. I've seen what works, I've solved tough problems, and I'm ready to bring that experience again to serve our community. From the classroom to the superintendent's office, I've dedicated my career to one mission: empowering every student. 49 years ago, I started as a teacher in the Worcester Public Schools, and today I'm still fighting for every student's opportunity to succeed. On my passionate journey, I've led South High Community School as assistant principal, served 6 years as superintendent of the Worcester Public Schools, and most recently acted as interim superintendent for the Quabog Regional School District and East Hampton School Districts. I've led large regional and small school districts, managed multi-million-dollar budgets, and built strong teams focused on results. I believe it's important to have accountability, innovation, and closing achievement gaps so every student has the chance to thrive. But leadership isn't just about numbers and titles, it's about community. I've closely worked with families, teachers, local businesses, and civic organizations to make our schools center of opportunity, centers of growth and service. I've been honored to receive several awards, like the Educator of the Year Award, in recognition for community leadership. Tonight, I'm here to share my vision and to continue communication to move the Worcester Public Schools forward together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this point in the evening, we're going to move to the question and answer period. Again, these questions were developed by the Research Bureau, and we'll begin with question number 1. In your view, what is the primary purpose of public education? Is it primarily to prepare students for the economy, for higher education, or for democratic citizenship? We're going to start with Susan. You're going to have 90 seconds.
Thank you. I think it's all of those categories, and I think citizenship probably ranks top. But I think we need to prepare our students when they finish 12 years in our system to enter the workforce, to go to college, to go to work, to go join the service, whatever their dreams may be. I think it is so incredible to think about what we're teaching our students these days in the world, and how we're going to offset some of that is an incredible challenge. But I think sometimes I feel like adversity is the best teacher. And so maybe these students that watch the craziness that's going on in our world right now are going to actually come out ahead, because they're going to be able to see what we've been talking about or fighting about or arguing about that really has nothing to do with being a good neighbor or being a person that runs a company in the city or a person that runs a school system in the city. So my hope is that I believe we have to do all three of those things. Thank you.
Thank you. Maureen, you have 1 minute. Would you like to respond?
So I feel that our job is to have stronger schools so we can have stronger communities. And in order to do that, we have to have improved school safety in schools. We have to make sure our schools remain secure in their learning environments. We have to partner with parents, educators, and local officials to create proactive measures. And a very important part of our education today is to have a welcoming school climate and to address the wellness of our students. The most important part is our job in establishing academic excellence and closing performance gaps. So our students all have to be able to achieve and be successful in the career in the world of work when they leave school. So in order to do that, our education has to focus on the individual needs of our students, closing the gaps and providing those opportunities that will have the students continue to expand their schools.
Thank you very much. Adjua, you have 1 minute?
I feel that both Sue and Maureen touched on both very good points. I feel that we have to be able to produce well-rounded citizens for our local community as well as the government. And so all those things need to be a huge focus for us. As Maureen just said, we need to be able to ensure that we are producing what will help them achieve that success. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sue, do you have a 30-second rebuttal?
Thank you. Just quickly to Member Menendez, starting off with school safety. One of the reasons we had a cultural shift in this city in our school had something to do with how we viewed discipline and how we were going to, think about our students and their experiences. And so I want to say one more time, I am super happy with what was accomplished with Dr. Monares, and I thank you.
Great. So we're going to start on superintendent performance, and this will go to Maureen Menendez first. The superintendent outlined his goals for the current school year. What are your goals for the administration, and how do you plan on evaluating his performance? You have a minute and a half.
Thank you. I was very happy with the goals that Superintendent Allen had put forward. All of his goals address the strategic plan, and I was really happy with the goal about growing our own, because that has been a goal for the Worcester Public Schools in the last strategic plan and this one. And it's very important that we're able to grow our own future educators, future administrators. Also, the goal regarding buildings and keeping the structure of the buildings, updating the structure of the buildings, and making sure our buildings are safe for our students. I think that important part of Mr. Allen's work is that he believes that transparency is important. So I also believe that transparency has to be a core value for us. Mr. Allen also spoke about clear communication, open processes, and make sure families understand what the decisions are and why they're being made. So transparency and community voice are essential for academic excellence, which he addressed also, for budget accountability, and also for establishing school partnerships.
Adjua, you have the first response. You have a minute.
Thank you. I believe that in order to keep Superintendent Allen accountable and ensuring that he's executing on everything that he has brought forth as of last week, I think we should look to set up a process that checks on a 30, a 60, and a 90-day process. A 30-day process internally with the school committee members to see how we are doing in terms of everything that was set forth. A 60-day with the community to see what their thoughts are on what they feel the execution process has been so far. And then together collectively a 90-day to see if any true progress has been made between those three checkpoints. So I feel that there needs to be, especially as Maureen mentioned, his quest for transparency. I think we need to be as transparent as possible, both internally and also externally with the community.
Thank you. Sue, you've got the last response.
Thank you. The strategic plan, all right, the question is about Brian Allen and how we're going to evaluate him. And I think that he's set some clear goals, so those we'll be able to judge as we go along. But I was in favor of him having this job because I believe that he drank the Kool-Aid, that he was in favor of the shift in our district, and that is why I voted to put him in. I think that I would like to, the strategic plan we have now has many of the same overall arching areas as the strategic plan that was created by the community. Because remember, 2 strategic plans ago, we had to create our own Well, okay, that's enough. Thanks, Paul. Stop lifting those things.
Maureen, you've got 30 seconds to
I'll
rebut.
come back to
So,
strategic plan.
it's the job, one of the biggest jobs of the school committee besides budget is the hiring and the evaluation of the superintendent. All superintendents in Massachusetts are evaluated through a Massachusetts plan. They're all the same. Usually it's at the 6th month, they provide an update on their goals, and then there's a year end. There's a rubric that's developed by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and all superintendents have to be evaluated on the rubric. There are separate indicators that come with each of the rubric areas, and so, I have to stop.
Thank you.
All right. My question is going to be tackling the strategic plan. Adwa, we're going to start with you. Do you support the current strategic plan, our promise to the future? And is there anything that you would change or update? And you have 90 seconds.
Thank you. In listening to the meeting last week where the strategic plan was presented, I definitely felt that there were some strong points that were in there. So I do support the plan as it stands. I'm also the newbie, so I don't necessarily know that I can challenge it too much. But I will say that I think I liked that there was, and I'm trying not to paraphrase or misquote, but there was something in there about being able to work with the community. And that's something that I believe strongly, especially as it pertains to how we can continue to expand after-school programs and offerings for students. I do feel that we need to find a way to better properly engage the community. And so that's something that I would look to, if it's really truly in the plan, expand on.
Maureen, you have the first response. You have 1 minute.
Perfect. So I do like the strategic plan. I was involved with the strategic plan prior to that one. As Sue said, there are similarities in all strategic plans. This one has 7 areas: equitable resources and educational programs. How do we acquire and retain talent? What about the health and wellness of the students? Also, the modernization of our safe facilities, community and family engagement, and then also improving our culture and climate. Those are all the things we need for our students to be successful, and our strategic plan really enhances our educational outcomes in the Worcester Public Schools, and also creates a very supportive learning environment. Our job as school committee members are to assess the regular assessment on the monitoring of the strategic plan, and when necessary, to talk to the superintendent to address strategies, and to make sure that PD for our educators are being done.
Susan, you have the next response. You also have 1 minute.
Thank you. I think I'll tag on to Adjua's point about the community, and I think, I think an important fact, a big part of this cultural shift, I'm going to keep talking about that, is that we achieved something with community that hadn't been done in quite some time. We're a very closed system, not just locally, but even at the state level. I would go to different meetings and they would say, how can we get into Worcester? We're trying to help. We're trying to do this. And it was just impossible. So something better came along, and I think it's going to be critical for us to pay attention to that ability, because although it's beautiful to grow our own and always have our own, it is also beautiful to have fresh perspective. And I think the fresh perspective that Dr. Monara has brought and put forward is to embrace community and understand how much we can get from them.
Adwa, you have a 30-second rebuttal.
I don't know that I have a rebuttal. Again, like I said, I'm really all about being able to expand on community offerings. And so if I'm able to get in, I will definitely work as hard as possible to expand that.
Thank you. We're going to move to question number 4, which is focused on education theory. Whole child education experts stress social-emotional learning, the arts, and civic engagement, while others argue schools should get back to basics in reading, math, and science. Should schools emphasize traditional academic subjects more strongly or define learning more expansively? The first, Maureen, you're going to go first, and you have 90 seconds.
Could you just say the last part again? I couldn't hear it clear enough.
Should schools emphasize traditional academic subjects more strongly or define learning more expansively?
Okay, so first of all, I think schools are to emphasize learning, and our job is to find out how we can make every student learn and be successful. Now, there are many types of learning. In Massachusetts, we no longer have the MCAS, however, we don't no longer have it for graduation, but we still have it for accountability. And the DESE standards, we're responsible, every teacher, for meeting the DESE standards. So that is very important that happens. However, there are also the values of art and music and phys ed and civics education. Those are also important. So a well-rounded education means that our students get the academic standards met, as well as opportunities. For example, at Burncoat, they have the dance program. To get other opportunities, such as participating in the Chapter 74 programs that are in all the high schools. And I think one of the big things, our job as school committee members, is to try to make sure that we find funding for those opportunities.
Thank you. Sue, you have the first response. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. You know, as we move to, or try to, the state moves us towards a competency-based model, I think that means expanded offerings and not a rigid program, but more of a broader program. And so I think that we have been offering some of those programs, and I think if we could achieve something in each of the quadrants that is special, that allows access in our public schools to programming like the dual language, for example, right? That is a really strong model that kids thrive on. It's been proven everywhere, but we only have currently one school in our district, and we're starting a program at Woodland. We've done better than probably any city in Massachusetts with expanding vocational education. Those are broader learning models than the rigid method.
Thank you. Adjoa, you have the second response. You have 1 minute.
Not every student learns the same. So I do think the broader offerings are a great option. However, I still do believe that focusing on the basics is also very important. I believe very strongly in simultaneous promotion of all interests. We need to be able to continue to provide the basic education while also offering things that help guide students in their future. Not everyone's going to want to go to college, so maybe providing things in the arts and like you said, the dual language which my kids are in is helping to expand their knowledge a lot. So I feel that both offerings are very doable and should be provided.
Thank you. Maureen, you have 30 seconds for a rebuttal.
I just wanted to add that one of the important parts is, besides providing the academic focus on excellence and opportunities, vocational ed, art, music, wellness opportunities, the very important part for us in Worcester, if you look at the NAEP scores that recently came out, will show that one way that we can, effective way, increase reading scores and math scores is providing extra tutoring after-school activities and during the day. So it's a very important thing to also remember. Besides what you basically are going to supply, you have to do the extras also.
Thank you. This next question focuses on curriculum, and Adjoa, you're going to be the first one. Debates over curriculum reflect tensions between community values, student preparedness, and academic freedom. What role should Worcester Public Schools play in teaching controversial or difficult topics?
Great question. Difficult one. Can you repeat the last part, please? What role should...
Yep. What role should Worcester Public Schools play in teaching controversial or difficult topics?
I think controversial and or difficult topics are what shape our community and our country. They are not always subjects that everyone wants to touch on or talk about, but very often they are essential. There are certain things that need to be learned that not everyone will agree on or necessarily want to be taught. However, it doesn't mean that it shouldn't be a topic of conversation. So I think Worcester Public Schools should play a role in terms of just offering it, but also being transparent and letting the community, the students, and the parents be fully aware of what those things are. And similar to what they've done in other areas, offer the parents or the community and the students the option to opt out if it's something that they do not want to participate in.
Thank you. Sue, you have the first response.
Thank you. You threw in a curveball at the end there about opting out, because I'm not sure, I'm not sure what I think about opting out. I can remember some of the best teachers that I loved were people that would talk with us about current events and about what was going on in the world, and expanded and challenged us to think about that. And I hope all the kids in our public school have an opportunity to have those kind of teachers throughout their experience in Worcester Public Schools. So we should be tackling controversial, difficult topics. We should not be, I think we've learned it. Jimmy Kimmel came back, right? We should be talking about the tough stuff. So that's a good sign, and hopefully we can emulate that within our district and recognize that makes everybody better.
Maureen?
So I think that's a very good question, and my response, based on my experience of being a superintendent and having to manage many voices coming at the same time, is to find out, what does the law say about that? Like, what are the protections for the law? So example of that was just yesterday. Governor Healy and Attorney General Campbell, they issued a joint statement that I would suggest everybody read, and it is actually affirming commitment to equal access to education for all students. And also, I don't know whether or not you knew also, but Mara Healy has been very instrumental in protecting a lot of protections for students in Massachusetts. I'm always so thankful that we live in Massachusetts. That's where the first school started, and I still think we're a leader. On August 5th this year, she added 2 things for protection, and that was immigration and citizenship status is now part of where protections are in Massachusetts.
Adjoa, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
I do not have a rebuttal. Thank you.
All right, this question is going to be about cell phones. Federal and state governments have discussed cell phone use policies for individual school districts. Worcester Public Schools approved its own policy in 2024, allowing use if approved by a teacher for educational purposes. What is your position on the use of cell phones in school? And Susan, you are going to go first, and you have 90 seconds.
Boy, do I have to spend the whole 90? No, I'm kidding. So first of all, I actually don't think the state's going to come to agreement on this. So I don't think there seems to be any appearance that the House is ready to tackle this issue. The Senate put forth their program. So if it stands that way, I mean, our policy is our policy, and I think it was developed with a lot of stakeholders at the table and involved. Cutting right to the chase, I've thought about this a lot, and I do think in elementary and probably middle school that cell phones could be banned or held at the beginning. I mean, but in high school, man, I mean, I think that our kids we need to teach them how to be responsible. We need to be responsible with our phones as well. And so I just feel like 14 in some countries, you're going to go to work and you're going to start your life and whatever. And so I think we can expect more from our kids, and we should expect more from our kids in terms of responsibility. So I think I'm in the high school. I'm not sure about the ban thing, but I get it in the younger grades.
Adwoa, you have the first response. You have 1 minute.
I feel that cell phones they can be very disruptive. I think especially, as Sue just said, in elementary and middle school, I think that's very disruptive. We also live in a world where sometimes, unfortunately, as it pertains to like school violence, those are things that could potentially come in handy should, law enforcement need to be reached out to. I think I do not feel that it should be in elementary school, neither do I feel that it should be in middle school. I can see where it could be potentially needed in high schools.
Maureen, your response? You have 1 minute.
My response is no. I don't think we should have cell phones in schools. The research that's out there now proves that cell phones do not belong in school. There's a lot of information about what's happening to the brain because of the cell phones. Having been a high school principal, assistant principal, when cell phones came in, your work for school safety got greatly increased. So if I speak to many teachers, if you go walk into classrooms, what you hear teachers say most often is put your cell phone down, shut your cell phone off. Teachers are not for cell phones either in schools. They really want to do their job. They want to teach. And so they want us to help them and to say no cell phones in schools.
Okay, Sue, you have a 30-second rebuttal.
Thank you. I've had conversations with a few principals and teachers this year, and the policy that we put in place is really, this is just kind of our first year, or our second year, I guess, coming into the policy. And what I heard, even from our superintendent, is that he believes is that that something has shifted, that the phones are away, that they're away and they're being properly used in the classroom. So I guess more to come on this topic for sure, but I think that we should really be paying attention to what has actually been accomplished in our schools.
Thank you. We're going to pivot to question 7. The topic is workforce, and Adjoa, you'll have the first response. You'll have 90 seconds. The question is, urban districts often face difficulty retaining teachers. Factors often include workforce diversity, compensation, and working conditions. What do you believe best motivates and retains excellent teachers?
What do I believe best motivates and retains teachers?
Excellent teachers.
Excellent teachers, thank you. We need to love on our educators and our teachers. That's first and foremost. We need to pay them well and appreciate them for how much work and effort they put in on a day-to-day basis in educating our children. I think once you start there, you then move on to ensuring that they are well-equipped to be able to teach the students. So I'm not sure what the current process is so far as renewing licenses, if those exist for them, or just continuing to ensure that they are well-versed and up-to-date on their knowledge on how to best teach our students. But we need to be able to ensure that they are getting that as well. We also need to talk to them. I think they need to be heard. They're going through a lot. Times have changed, and teachers need to be heard. So providing a forum where teachers can tell us what it is they feel they need, how best we can support them, is very essential and critical as well.
Thank you. Maureen, you have the first response. You have 1 minute.
Certainly, I agree with everything Adwa said. I think it's important to appreciate and also celebrate your teachers, provide the professional development that they need in order for the initiatives that you're having in the Worcester Public Schools, and provide the support they need so that they're able to try out new things, but also have support knowing that if they need extra help, they'll get that extra help. Visit our classrooms as school committee members, especially principals also, so you know what's going on, and you can also have their input on suggestions on how to improve things in the school, and then also to have grow your own programs where you actually honor the people that are working in the district and give them an opportunity to become future teachers and administrators.
Thank you. Sue, you have the second response. You have 1 minute.
I think districts like ours, I have a niece that teaches in one of the towns, and I'm constantly saying to her, come to Worcester. It's far more interesting, and there's far more, just life is here in our city, and it is one of the exciting things about our district. And I think that is also some of the cultural shift I saw with teachers and principals, especially the younger principals. When we saw someone come in, a leader that had a new vision for our district and really empowered some of those young leaders, I think that is clearly a way to retain when they're at the table. We'll also be at the table on all our union contracts this coming term, and there'll be lots of opportunities to hear concerns, and I think I agree with Adjoa that we should be talking to our teachers on a regular basis.
Thank you. Adjoa, you have time for rebuttal?
I think what both Maureen and Sue said definitely adds to what I stated previously. And additionally, budget is tight, but I'm going to harp on it again that I think we need to pay them well.
Thank you.
Thank you. This next question is going to focus on school safety, and the first response with 90 seconds will come from Sue. In 2023, Worcester Public Schools completed a school safety audit outlining a priority list of improvements. Do you support the current school safety strategy, and what would you prioritize?
I do. And also, has been stated a few times recently in different forums, the dollars. We've got to think about safety in a different way than maybe we thought about it 10 or 20 years ago. Building safety is like numero uno, and we're getting there. Everybody in this room knows we have very old schools with a lot of different challenges, and we have a pretty good facilities group right now that's making sure that they're going through everything that they need to. Now, there was a lot of discussion when this came up last year about, sharing all that information. Well, we can't publicly share information about each of our buildings. That's probably not a good safety protocol. So I think that you should know, the public should know that the school committee does get briefed on how we're doing with those building safety issues. And I think on the culture and climate, Member Johnson, who's here tonight, I see him out there, has asked for consistent information. We want to know that there's consistent practices across the district, particularly in our middle and high schools, for how the culture and climate is being, being put into our system. I think since we're relatively at the beginning of that there's going to be improvements along the way, and I look forward to seeing that. I support the process.
Thank you. The first response will come from Maureen.
Sure. So safety has always been something that I think is really important in schools because students can't learn and teachers can't teach if they're not safe. Last Thursday, school committee meeting, we did receive a report on discipline compared from the year ago to this year. My concern that there were an increase in some behavioral incidents. So that report now will be discussed further in school committee as it's gone to the Finance, Organization, and Governance Committee. So I think what we need to do is we need to review some of the restorative justice practices that we're using. We need to make sure that they're consistently used across schools for the same incidents. And then we have to really look for ways to continue to improve culture and climate.
Adjoa, you have 1 minute.
I support the current process, but I will also say that with anything that is new, you need to give it time and also be able to properly gather data to see how it's working. So I think everyone should give the new process that's in place a fair chance, a chance to see it through fully. And once you have enough data amassed, a fair decision can be made whether we revert back or we continue forward with what has been put in place.
And Sue, you've got 30 seconds to rebut.
It's been an interesting, start to Mr. Allen's tenure as superintendent, and I think if you are regular watchers of the school committee, you will see kind of a little bit of a different tone that is there right now than there was during the last 3 years. So I think that's supportive of the work that we're doing, and I'm just sorry that we didn't reflect that support over the past 3 years, and we're just getting to it now. Thank you.
All right, question 9 is going to be about early education, and is going to go to Maureen first. Early education is the foundation for future success. What role should the school system play in strengthening and expanding current preschool programs and other affordable early childhood educational opportunities?
So right now, in the Worcester Public Schools, our preschool is only 15.36% of our population, which is low, lower than what it is in other districts. The reason why I think it's important for focus on preschool is the research is really clear. It says that it improves memory capabilities, it improves social skills, task orientation. It also improves innovation control, the emotional skills that children have. Later on in life, they have higher test scores. If they had preschool, the graduation rates are great, and there's lower rates of discipline. The problem for us is two things. Space, we don't have space in our schools for preschool, and the second one is the cost of it. So it's something that we really need to look at. We have expanded preschool in the Worcester Public Schools. When I was superintendent, we expanded the special ed offerings because, children ages 3 to 5 that have special needs by law have to get preschool, and they're usually in inclusive settings. We haven't been able to really expand it for other students, and I think the other part is that we would need to partner more with our non-Worcester Public School preschools so that we can coordinate those programs better.
Okay, Sue, you have the first response. You have 1 minute.
Thank you. I think this is really important work that needs to happen in our district. Referring back to the 15% is not acceptable. Because we've taken this U-turn on our path towards a better America, it's hard to say how long is it going to take us to get back on track where we actually value the early education. I mean, I think Springfield leaped ahead of us in terms of what they were accomplishing with nonprofit partners. I know at the state level, our state senator, Robin Kennedy, is the chair of the education and the early ed and very passionate about that. So we have an ally here at the state level, but look at what the state's facing. So if all these Medicaid cuts come, this is like these things that are so critical to sending us to the next level in Worcester are going to be stunted because of what's happening federally.
Adwa, you have 1 minute.
As a parent, I think one of the things that made me saddest when starting to get my children into school and education was the little amount of availability that there was, and not just pre-K. I think to educate those who don't know, there's pre-K 3 and pre-K 4, and so the inability, in a sense, in Worcester anyway, and I can only speak on this because I used to live in Virginia where you could get kids into school as early as 3 years old. So the inability for a lot of parents, it hurts, and Maureen sort of touched on it a little bit. The earlier you're able to get them in, the more successful or the better chance they have at being more successful in the future. So I think if we can do more to expand those offerings, it would be beneficial for the community as a whole.
Thank you. Maureen, you have a 30-second rebuttal.
I don't really have a rebuttal. I think what everybody said here is correct. I think it's a big need, and there's only a certain amount of money, and I think that we have to advocate at the local and the state level for our preschool funding.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are over halfway through this debate and a few more questions to go. I want to thank the public for being here with us. You could be across the street at the Walking Dead set. And instead, you're here with us talking and learning about education. And so thank you to our candidates. We're going to move to question 10, which is on student success. So with the end of MCAS as a graduation requirement, what metrics are you using to measure student success and school quality? Is it post-graduation success in the workforce and/or college? Do you think our students are adequately prepared? And the first respondent is going to be you, Sue. You're going to have 90 seconds.
You know, I did 7 years chairing the board at Quincy, and the general feeling was Quincy was so valuable because we had so many extra supports for students. So maybe students that aren't necessarily ready, it is awesome that we have probably we have a very strong community college in our city, and that's a value. I think it's a value to even the other higher ed partners, right, who value from our students that go to Quincy that may go over there. I think that the competency-based way that we're going is going to ultimately get us to where we want so that students are there, but I think we are going to have to go through that process, and it's going to have fits and starts, and it's going to be interesting to see how different. I'm a big believer in we don't necessarily have to have all the answers, but we can look at what other people are doing too and look for best practice. I think sometimes we don't do that enough in Worcester. We kind of think that we have all the answers, so I think, Joe, that this is a place that we can, we really want to look at what other communities are doing and what they decide to do in Massachusetts, but also what other states are doing across the country because competency, I believe, is the way to go versus testing so that students are ready.
Thank you. Adjoa, you have 1 minute.
I'm going to touch on the fact that, again, I believe very strongly in looking at data. I don't think we need to look just at the data here in Worcester. Sue just touched on it briefly at the end there, but we need to look comparatively at what successful school districts are doing. Let's take a look at a successful school district who does not have something like an MCAS and testing as a focus, and one that does. And what can we gain from both of those districts that we can then look to be able to implement to ensure that our students are successful? So I think we need to do a compare and contrast from what we've done so far, what the numbers look like for us, and what others are doing, and what can we learn from them so that we can apply it and make our students just as successful.
Thank you. Maureen, you have 1 minute to respond.
Sure. So we still have the MCAS because you cannot get access to federal grants unless there is one test that everybody in the state is given. So at this point, we still have the MCAS. Now, the MCAS is made up of the competencies that have been determined by Department of Elementary Secondary Ed to show that students have the skills and know the information to move forward. That brings us to, because we don't have the MCAS, what we call competency determination. So the state is now in the process of deciding what they're suggesting for competency determination. That's separate than graduation requirements. Graduation requirements are set by the school committee in the district. Competency determination will be set by the state. And that previously has been that you had to pass 9th and 10th grade English and math courses. Now, next year, you have to pass 9 through 12 courses and also pass biology and U.S. history.
Thank you. Sue, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
What do I want to say? I think that no rebuttal.
Thank you.
The next question is on school facilities, and Adjoa, you will be the first one to respond with 90 seconds. Appropriate school facilities can improve educational outcomes for students. How should Worcester Public Schools identify, plan for, prioritize, and fund major projects? With limited space and funds in the city, should the city discuss school consolidations in the new rebuilds?
I did not think about school consolidations, but thanks for putting that point in there. I know that school facilities has been a big topic or a big focal point for the school committee, and if I'm not mistaken, I think city council as well, right? And so it's very important, but I will say this, I see the difference it makes when a school gets an update. I'm a Doherty High grad. I was fortunate to see the new building, And my, oh my, would I have loved to have had an opportunity to, learn in that building. It really does make a difference. And I think, again, I'm going to say, let's see what our community partners can do to help us. We have a very tight budget. How can we stretch it by leveraging the fantastic partners that are existent here in the Worcester community that can help us better budget or prioritize what things we can tackle. Again, I didn't think about school consolidation, but maybe that's something that could be discussed. But I would say partnering with the community first and seeing what we can leverage there, and then seeing how we can apply that to the current budget as it stands would be a good starting point.
Maureen, you have the first response.
Yeah, so I had a very long relationship with the MSBA, which is the funding source that gives funding to schools for building new schools. So I was, from the bottom up, was responsible for the building, working with the architect and also construction companies for the building in the new South High Community School, and also doing all the planning for the Doherty Memorial High School. So I think that we still have to move forward what we're going to do with Burncoat, with the middle and the high school, and see what kind of work we're going to do there. One of the things I want to say is that every school can't be new, and so what we have to do is, A, fix the things that are broken in the schools that we have that we can't replace. So, for example, you look outside and you see a playground with no swings, put the swings in, right? So make sure that we keep them clean and we fix them up so that it's comfortable for the students. As far as consolidating, we do need to do that this year. Rice Square, move to Worcester East Middle, and right now we're in the process of doing a plan to try to change districts.
Response 2 comes from Sue.
Thank you. I think a lot of work has been done between, Rachel and the city manager, and Brian and Tim McGurthy spent a lot of time together talking about city buildings, school buildings, and I think that I know that there is a plan there for priorities in what we need to tackle. But I do think that redistricting plan is key to what we're talking about. And I think that I hope that we won't take anything off the table. So if consolidation of schools makes the most sense, let's talk about it. Let's not talk about it. We've kind of, personally, I would be a fan of Burncoat being a full vocational school, and we're not there, and that's not what is before us right now, which disappoints me because I think there's tremendous need or want or desire for that in the community. So I think we need to do more talking about our building and facilities.
And Audra, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
I want to touch on something that Maureen mentioned, which is I spoke to a assistant principal at a school that I won't mention, who had a teacher where the teacher went to open the window and the window fell on the teacher, but instead of it being fixed, it was put back and then there was tape put on it, right? Let's stop putting Band-Aids on it, let's actually fix it.
Very nice. This is question 12 regarding grading, and Maureen, you're going to be the first response. Worcester Public Schools Administration submitted a mastery-based grading policy that establishes a uniform grading standard across all high schools. Do you support the proposed policy? And what would you like to see in the grading policy, and how would you implement?
Thank you for the question. So I've done a lot of reading on this. They're interesting enough. In the 80s, there were like 2 books written about mastery grades policy. This year, there were 25 books written on it because what the idea is that we evaluate students by the mastery assessments, so we have the same goals for each class, and then we assess students by mastery, and then we also going to grade them. Right now, I did not vote for the mastery assessment grading policy. It's still in committee. It's in actually the Teaching and Learning Committee. I have a lot of questions about it, so we're working through that. I think it came upon us quickly, and so now we're really looking at what that means. The example of the best mastery-based grading policy is actually in Canada. They've been using it for 15 years, and in mastery-based grading, they only get grades for the grade, and then they get separate grades for attendance, and then another grade for homework, and another grade for participation. Our proposal is just to put them all together and call it a mastery-based grading policy, but that's not actually what that is. So we're still in conversation about that, and I would suggest if you're interested, you listen to the committee meetings on it.
Okay, Sue, you have response number 1. You have 1 minute.
I was in favor of us doing more, looking into options and to understand what was put forth. This was an item that came before school committee like at the very beginning of the summer, and all of a sudden they wanted it done for September. This is a big deal. I mean, there's the teachers, there's union negotiations that happen with this. That is just taking place now. So I would agree that it felt rushed. I think we're going to get there, but I think the time and effort we take to really understand why the district brought forth the program they did, and are they thinking about other alternatives, will be interesting as we go through our teaching and learning subcommittee.
Adwell, you also have 1 minute.
I know that this is very new, so I haven't had enough time to do my research on it, but one of the questions that I had was what other options were presented and why was this the one that was ultimately brought forward? So that's something that I would want to dig a little bit deeper into, is to understand why this was the option and what other options we could potentially present so that we have, you know, a wider array to make a more informed decision.
And Maureen, you have a 30-second rebuttal.
I agree with what everyone has said. I just wanted to add that I think consistent grading, especially in high school, is really important for students, that they know what they have to do to get, you know, a passing grade, and also that students have many opportunities to bring their grades up. So there are many opportunities that teachers would then give them, not just one assignment or one test to base their grade on.
Thank you. Question 13 is certainly a timely topic, ICE activity. Many Worcester families worry about immigration and customs enforcement activity in the community, which can create fear and impact student attendance and engagement. What role should the school committee play in ensuring Worcester Public Schools remain safe, supportive, and welcoming environment for our immigrant children and their families? Adjoa, you have the first response. You have 90 seconds.
I am an immigrant. I came to this country, fortunately enough, with my parents and my siblings through the green card process system, but I was one of the fortunate ones. However, I feel that we need to be able to provide that same level of safety to everyone, and the school committee should vocally say, you know, how protective they will be of every student. Education is important, and no child should fear leaving their home to go and get that education simply because they don't know if they will return or return home to a parent or grandparent not being there. I think we're at a very critical point in time, but I feel that especially as it pertains to education, we need to ensure that we're providing all the protections needed and necessary in order to ensure that every single child has the ability to learn and learn fully and without fear.
Thank you. Maureen, you have the first response. You have 1 minute.
Sure. I believe that, especially in this case, that all children need to know that they belong and they're wanted protected in schools. Again, happy that I live in Massachusetts because Maura Healey on August 5th did pass what they call Protect Education Equity Bill, and that basically protects all students and they belong and they have to be enrolled in Massachusetts. Our job as school committee is what is our policy for enrolling students in schools. So right now, our policy says they only have to give the child's age and address. If they're homeless, then they don't have to give the address for that. Our job is to make sure that we have open lines of communication. We have to simplify enrollment processes and policies, and also communicate how we're going to help families navigate the Worcester Public School processes.
Thank you. Sue, you have the second response. You have 1 minute.
You know, when this insanity began, after the new president came in, Rachel was the first superintendent to stand up and say Worcester is going to protect our kids. We're going to stand back to this. And frankly, Governor Healy called us out and was pleased that that was Worcester's position. I want to make sure, like my colleagues here said, that this remains a priority. This isn't going away. I imagine we'll see ebbs and flows. Maybe we're just going to see ebbs, but it is a scary time, and it is our job and parents' job. And we need to think about, and I think we will have these conversations, if it gets worse than what we see right now, what do we have in our back pocket to make sure families feel safe, and how can we make sure education is delivered if that happens? Maybe it won't be, but maybe it will be.
Thank you. Adjoa, you have 30 seconds rebuttal.
I want to add that I think it's essential that we find ways to also speak with the families to see what they feel will be helpful for them, and additionally how we can work with our schools.
Thank you. This question's around budget, and Sue, you'll be the one with the 90 seconds to start. With probable budget cuts from the federal government and the state's undervalued inflation factor, Worcester Public Schools may have persistent budget challenges. What programs, initiatives, or line items do you prioritize?
All of it. I mean, it is kind of horrific to be a constantly underfunded school district, and to have it come to the table again and again. Okay, what are your priorities going to be when we don't give you the money that your kids deserve, just like the kid in Sudbury or whatever towns that we're talking about? So, you know, the biggest thing in front of us, the biggest opportunity in front of us, is to reevaluate the funding formulas at the state level. I understand the Senate, there is going to be a joint committee that comes together to address this. Classrooms, obviously, are first to protect, but I think we need to really push the state to move forward on some of these changes so that we can be in a better place than we were before. Student Opportunity Act, Sonia Chang Diaz and Mary Keefe, our own Mary Keefe here in Worcester, were really important partners in that work and pushed it forward, and Mary remains at the table on education items, and that matters. And so Brian Allen, being one of the top finance guys in our system, Brian is going to be at the table at the state level to make sure we can find equitable funding models. The classroom, of course. I want to make a statement about our administrative spending. Our administrative spending is still much less than many districts. We like to make a big deal. Administrative spending can create a high-performing district.
Okay, the next response will come from Maureen.
So, you know, I was a teacher when 2.5 hit Worcester, and we lost many positions. And that's actually how I ended up at South High Community School. And even though we lost those positions, everybody dug down deep and continued to do a lot of those jobs, just picking up, you know, and helping out. So if the federal government decides to cut some of our entitlement grants, then I would hope that we would all dig in and continue to do the work. So, you know, Worcester's budget this year that we approve is $586 million. That's a lot of money, right? The enrollment increase has helped us. Also, you know, the foundation budget inflation factor, and it was the 5th year of SOA. So we still have 2 more years of SOA. I would answer the question that I would look at the strategic plan, and when we're deciding on where to cut, we don't cut in those areas that the strategic plan addresses. And the last place I would cut would ever be the classroom.
Adjoa?
I think we need to bring the state to the local. And by that I mean, sometimes when you're sitting high up at the top and making decisions, unless you are well embedded or have an opportunity to physically see for yourself what is actually happening, it makes it difficult for you to decide where the money should go. So I think the state needs to come to the local. I think investing directly in the classrooms is very important. every budget truly should be tied to our students and their outcome, and I believe it should be equitable. So I really do feel like we need to reach out to those that are at the state level and making these budgetary decisions so that they can come in physically, just as, school committee members will go to the classrooms. I think sometimes they need an opportunity to spend a day to really see what is needed in order to help them make proper decisions.
And Sue, you've got 30 seconds for a rebuttal.
I would just add, the state DESE, right, which has a lot to do with our rules and regulations and our systems, is a board of folks that doesn't include a teacher. I think the makeup of some of these statewide boards that have a lot to do with how we are directed to go forward could be improved by having better reputation, better representation on some of these boards. And so I would advocate to the state that we maybe get some teachers, we have better representation on that board so that we're more equitable. Stop. No, okay.
All right, thank you. So this is the last question of the night. We're going to end on a fun one. And Maureen, it's going to go to you first. What is a policy of the school committee and the administration that you perceive as a win?
So I think all the policies that combat hate in our schools. There's just no room for hate in our schools, so I think the policies that make it very clear about bullying and harassment and hate crimes and how important it is to identify, investigate, and to stop those behaviors.
Great. Sue, you have a 1 minute response.
I think a win in our system, which was long fought for, was health education and sex ed in the schools. And I think it's a huge win. And I'm still think that we haven't done a great job to educate families to our program. And I hope that as we go forward that we'll be able to make it better, because I think we want kids to feel comfortable and we want kids to be aware of what they need to be aware of to protect themselves.
Audra, you also have 1 minute.
The focus for school committee, or the focus that school committee has currently on ensuring that every student is very well educated, I think is a very big win. I think it's important to focus on the fact that you're trying to churn out well-rounded citizens when they decide to either go to college or to go into their career. So I think the focus to ensure that we are providing them with the best is a very big win.
Great. And Maureen, you have a 30-second rebuttal.
Yeah, every year, every school committee member gets a book of all the policies that are written by MASC, Mass Association of School Committees, to go through and check and see if we want to make any changes in them or we want to adopt them. And I think it's really important that school committee takes the time to look at those policies and to continue to update them so that we're continuing to provide for our students in the best way possible.
So now we're going to move into the closing statements. Audra, you have 1 minute for your closing statement.
I'm sorry, was that me?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that, thank you.
Sorry.
As we close tonight, I want to bring this back to why I'm running for Worcester School Committee. Again, I am a proud graduate of Worcester Public Schools, now a parent with children in the system, 2, soon to be 3 next year, a higher education professional, and a community advocate. I know firsthand how much our schools can shape a student's future, and I also know the challenges that remain. My priorities, again, are clear. Strengthen our curriculum so every student is challenged, provide real hands-on support for those who are struggling, and ensure that families, educators, and the community are true partners in this work. This is not just about policies and budgets. It's about our children and it's about their futures and the kind of city we want Worcester to be. With my experience, commitment, and passion, I'm ready to serve and to fight for the success of every student, and I hope you will join me.
Thank you. Sue, you're next. You have 1 minute for your closing statement.
Thank you. I've used my voice to speak with courage and ask tough questions on behalf of all children and families. recently for those currently under attack, the LGBTQ+ and trans community, and the migrant communities. I invite parents and community partners to attend our school committee meetings. Although public education has been under attack, it is a fundamental right in our state, and it's worth fighting for. Our Constitution says we have a, quote, duty to provide education for all citizens and to foster good citizenship and a well-informed populace. Diversity of thought, experience, race, and family are, in my opinion, critical components of an effective school committee. At the core, though, we must all be strong supporters of public education. That is not negotiable. I will bring that every single day. I ask for your vote on November 4th. Sue Mailman, member at large, number 1 on your ballot.
Thank you. And Maureen, 1 minute for your closing statement.
Worcester has been my home and my professional community for 5 decades. I began my career here as a special education teacher, then became assistant principal, principal at South High Community School, and eventually superintendent of the Worcester Public Schools. Along the way, I've had the privilege of working with thousands of students and families, and I've seen firsthand the power education has to change lives. Running for school committee was a natural extension of my journey. It allows me to continue serving the community I love, to give back, and to use my experience to make a difference in the life of our students. I ask for your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Now I get to make the long walk back to the podium and thank all 3 of our candidates for doing a phenomenal job with tonight's time constraints. I also want to thank our moderators for doing a terrific job with a lot of very complicated questions. And I want to thank our audience, both here in person and at home. It's really important. Politics starts at home. Local government is hugely important. Nothing's more important than our schools and the governance. So I want to point out a couple things. There are other resources out there. Some of the resources were outside from the city on boards and commissions. Some pertain to the in-person early voting schedule. Do not forget that from the 25th to the 31st of October, you can vote early. The voting registration deadline is right beforehand. I also want to point out that we have other debates coming. So generally speaking, plan on being here Wednesday nights for the next few weeks. Next week, we're also going to have the school committee. It's going to be contested districts. And I also want to encourage everyone, please do engage in this election. Talk to the candidates, talk to people who are volunteering, look at resources like the League of Women Voters and other impartial, non-biased resources that are out in the community. And don't forget to read the Telegram and Gazette and get a sense of the coverage of today's debate. So I want to thank everyone and look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. Thanks very much, Paul.